family. You represent Brian Malinowski, by all accounts, a pillar of his community, the executive director of the Bill Clinton airport in Little Rock, Arkansas. Not the sort of guy that you expect ATF agents to come crashing through the door. Tell us what you know about him.
Well, thank you. Brian Malinowski was the executive director of the Little Rock Airport. He made a career out of airport management. Grew up in Pennsylvania. Wanted to be a fighter pilot. Didn't have the eyesight, so he went and got his commercial pilot license. He got a college degree and went into airport management. And has worked in several places around the country and worked his way up to be the executive director of the Little Rock Airport. Did a good job. It's one of the less than a dozen airports in the country that's debt-free. Been married 25 years. And he's a hobbyist. Since his childhood, he collected coins. I've been to his house and seen books this thick about coin collecting, about card playing strategies. And about 6 years ago, he kind of picked up got the bug to collect firearms. And he found that he enjoyed on weekends. He had this full-time job at the airport, but he enjoyed on weekends going to gun shows. And he would display his coins. He would display guns. He'd buy, sell, trade. And if you've ever been to a gun show, mostly he talked, because that's what people like to do. They go to gun shows and they talk about guns. Yeah. And so that's who Brian was. At some point, the ATF, it's legal to go to a gun show and sell guns without a license if you're a hobbyist, a collector. There's a definition that I defy anyone to read and explain to me. At some point, ATF says you're no longer a hobbyist. You've become a person engaged in the business of selling firearms. At that minute, you're required to buy a $200 federal firearms license and start processing a bunch of paperwork when you sell guns. Nobody told Brian Malinowski that he might have crossed this line. He had no clue that anybody suspected him of crossing that line. And instead of telling him, ATF did this. They started surveilling him. They followed him around town. They put a tracker on his car. And then they got a federal search warrant and went to his home with 10 carloads of agents at 6 in the morning, over an hour before sunup. And they forced the front door, kicked his front door in. He and his wife, their first understanding that anybody was at the house was hearing their front door crash in. He grabbed a pistol, went, apparently ATF killed the power to the house. It was pitch black dark. They see intruders in their front entryway, and he shot about 30 or 40 feet at their feet, I presume, to drive them out of the house. They immediately returned fire and hit him at least once in the head and fatally wounded him. This is a guy that 10 seconds before that had no idea that anybody suspected him of anything, asleep in his own bed, and now he's dead.